Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're doing episode number 38 of I Build Your Teams, the series where I build my viewers' teams into the best teams possible for my team unlimited and or competitive play based on how much MT they have and what their squad is currently looking like. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, help me push towards the 13,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, and I would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. With all that being said, without further ado, let's hop right into it. First team today comes in from SoloDolo. He says he's open to anybody except for Taco and Simmons, and he'd like to keep Curry as his bench point guard. Probably wants to sell LaMelo, so I guess replace LaMelo as well should be on the agenda. 500,000 MT to do a few changes on this squad, and honestly, I like your team. I really do. Boogie and Invincible Jokic, very good power forwards. Tiny bit undersized, but I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried that much about size anymore, especially when you have Yao and Ralph as your centers. I would replace Ralph with Mark Eaton. That's just a personal preference. You might prefer Ralph. I prefer Eaton. Just my opinion, though. It is really up to you what you want to do there, whether you want to replace him or not. The other thing that I would say, better point guard option is going to be Hero Jokic. If you don't want to spend that much MT, go get Amin Thompson. He's significantly cheaper. Either one, though, play them as your starter. Steph off the bench. That's what I would do. And then I would also replace Kawhi with Danny Granger. Outside of that, you could also get a backup three. Chet Holmgren would be an option if you want to spend a little bit more MT. If you want to save MT, a guy like Karl Malone is a great budget option. There's free options like Danny Manning. In fact, I might go Danny Manning just for the freeness of him. And I think that's about all that I would do. So it's new point guard, whether that's like an Amin Thompson or a Jokic. I would go Granger over Kawhi, Eaton over Sampson personally, but that's up to you if you want to change that or not. And then backup small forward, and I gave you a couple options there, so hopefully that helps out. Second squad today comes in from CoachGraham. He's got 300,000 MT, and he's got a very big team, like obnoxiously big team. I'm going to make some changes simply because I think this team is too toxic, and I don't enjoy the toxicity of this squad. That's literally the only reason, though. Okay, so Big Z, KD, we're going to change it up a little bit. All right, we're going to keep your starting lineup relatively similar, but we're going to make a couple of changes. First of all, Jokic at PG, I am still cool with, even the regular one. That's fine. We're going to promote KD to the starting shooting guard position. Even though Big Z's bigger, KD is better. Going to put Victor at the three. We're going to, Taco is a card that I'm going to replace. Not a fan of Taco at this point in the game. Going to replace it with a guy like Evan Mobley. I think that's a nice, cheap, fun upgrade who's not quite as big, but I still think he's a really good, really fun card, and we can still have Yao at center. Backup point guard, Ben Simmons is fine. If you want to run the Giants, I would go with even like a regular Luka or a Ron Artest or an Amin Thompson or one of those guys personally, but it's up to you again if you want to. We'll go Bol backup two. We're going to go Danny Granger backup three again. I think he's a very, very good, fun card. We're going to take Big Z out of the lineup entirely. Artist backup four and Mark Eaton backup five, just to change some things up. I also think this team, personally, is better than the team that you have built right now. I think it's a slightly better squad as well, with a couple of changes here and there, but it's also a little bit less toxic. And I encourage that, to be completely honest, especially at this point in the year. It's a good squad. I would change it up to something like this. Just my personal opinion. Now, third team today does come in from Ray. He's got 1 million MT, and he's got a good-ass team already. I mean, with 1 million MT, this type of team, you have a lot of flexibility. Doug Christie, KD, Victor, Shaq, and Rick Smits off the bench. We got both the Thompson twins, Chet Holmgren, Taco, and Mark Eaton. Gonna make a recommendation very similar to what I made for the first team, or for the last team that we looked at. Well, number one, we're gonna go point guard. With 1 million MT, go get the best point guard in the game, in my opinion. That's Hero Nikola Jokic. Just go add him and bring Doug Christie off the bench, or Amin Thompson off the bench. Whoever you prefer between those two guys, you can bring them off the bench. I mean, backup two, I would play Finley just to save the MT, or again, Danny Granger's an option, one of the invincible shooting guards. Again, that's just my personal opinion. It's really up to you whether that's something you would want to do or not. I would again replace Taco. With this squad, I would get KP, run Shaq and KP as your power forwards. Invincible Kristaps Porzingis is really, really good. And outside of that, don't think I'd make many changes, but that's a few changes there for you. Hope that helps. Fourth team today comes in from Austin. He's got 2.5 thousand MT, and this team is definitely in need of work, and I think a lot of work. So starting point guard, we're going to go with an amazing elite budget option, and that is going to be Amin Thompson, and we will bring Steph off the bench still because he is okay, not amazing, but undersized and a fun card to use for sure. Next squad today, next players that we're going to keep KD. He can definitely have a spot at the two, of course, best two in the game, at least arguably. Paulo is auctionable. I think we're going to get rid of Paulo, and we're going to throw Bol here at the three. You need a little bit more size. You have a bunch of old, outdated cards, to be completely honest. T-Mac is very good, but so is Michael Finley, and Michael Finley is free, so we're going to use him at the backup shooting guard. I think he's a really, really good card. Giannis, Shaq, D-Rob, KP, I'm going to sell. Personally, I would sell all of them. I'd sell Jarris Walker. John Isaac, though, I actually do think you can keep. I think he's a good option. I think it's him, Karl Malone, one of those types of guys. Maybe, actually, you know who I would get? Danny Manning. I think Danny Manning is better than those guys. I'd put him as your backup small forward. I mean, actually, I'm going to be honest, just throw Curry as your 11th man. If you enjoy Curry, go for it. But Doug Christie's better, and he's free. I would do that as well. Now, last two things. We got power forward and center to cover. You have basically no MT, but with selling a bunch of players, you're going to have some MT flexibility, which means we can go Mark Eaton starting center. We can go Ralph Sampson backup center, and we can go with a couple of power forwards as well. Maybe Victor Wembanyama and the next version of Wemby, and who's a cheaper budget power forward, somebody who's going to be 20 to 30,000 MT. You know what? I can't really think of anybody right now. You know who's cheap or semi-cheap? Walker Kessler. That's pretty good card too. I might just go something like this. I think this squad is very manageable for you, to be completely honest. You may not be able to get exactly this squad, but you can get pretty damn close, I think, by selling all your extra pieces. This type of team is so much better than this squad. It's really not even close. That being said, we have what? 3 more teams today. This team comes in from Freddy. Freddy says this is his No Money Spent squad, and he loves the videos. Appreciate that. 50,000 MT as well is a decent amount of MT to work with. I mean, it's not a ton, but it is enough to at least give you a little bit of flexibility, and I think that is what matters here with a squad like this. So for me anyway, I would say Jerry Stackhouse KD is really good. Jokic as your backup point guard is really good, and Terry Dishinger is an elite level card as well. So that's your twos and your ones and your twos are really, really good. Dikembe and Artis Gilmore I like, and I like Mark Eaton. This KP is still good. I think Ralph Sampson is better. I would make that swap, considering that's not really going to cost you a lot of MT. And I think Bob Nedelicki is good. I would also get Danny Manning. I would start Manning, and I'd bring Bob Nedelicki off the bench. That's just my opinion. The fact you already have Jerry Stackhouse does mean you're probably at least pretty semi-decent at this game if you're having that type of success with a card like Jerry. But I think I'm not totally sure. I mean, this team is good. I wouldn't make a ton of changes. Again, Dikembe Mutombo's another guy you could look to replace, but considering that you have him locked in, and I do still think he's a pretty good card, I don't think that's a necessity by any means or anything you need to rush into doing or anything as well. So I would say overall, this is a very, very solid team. Don't have to make a ton of changes, but backup center for Ralph Sampson would be one that I'd get. I'd also grind for Danny Manning again at that small forward position, and just make a couple of small changes to make your team as elite as possible. Just my opinion with all that, though. Really, again, it's up to you what you want to do. Second to last squad today comes in from Live. He's got 40,000 MT, and he's got himself a really, really good team. I mean, this is an elite level squad with a lot of good cards on it. I think the one thing that you're missing the most, though, is size at center. Your size at your center position specifically is just really small. I mean, you are really, really small at the center position. Artis isn't tiny, but I mean, I think you have Invincible Wemby at the 3. Is he worth running at the at the 4? Is he worth running at the 3 with your I don't mind Wemby at the 4. I think that's good, and I also think running him next to Artis is totally cool, because Wemby is 7'5" and really can help, and Artis is super solid as a 7'2" guy who can guard power forwards and even guard centers at a very high level still. So it's not like I think Artis is a bad card at all. I think he's very, very good. So I don't really have much of a problem with that, to be completely honest, actually. So for me, I mean, it's up to you what you want to do. It certainly is up to you. I would go get Mark Eaton. I just think he's so good. I think Mark Eaton's such an easy card to pick up for basically anybody's squad, just because he's so good and so all around solid. Pick between Bill Russell. I would run Bill Russell. I'd go Bill Russell at the shooting guard position. Power forward position backup still. And then, I mean, outside of that, do you want to replace a Tim Thomas? You could sell Tim Thomas and get Danny Granger. Do something like that if you wanted to. Again, it's up to you. I don't think there's a ton that you need to do, to be completely honest. I think this squad is pretty damn good as is. But yeah, I definitely think some more size at center would be really, really crucial. Even if you wanted to get Ralph Sampson and Mark Eaton and start Eaton and bring Sampson off the bench, and then have Artis as your backup power forward, or just have Bill Russell as your backup power forward and take Artis and stick him out of the lineup. You could run Artis at power forward, Russell backup power forward, run Wemby at the 3 and Bull at the backup 3, and have those 2 giant centers. That might be a great option as well. You have a lot of flexibility with this team for sure. Last squad today comes in from my brother Carson. He's got not a lot of MT. It looks like 9,000. I'm not sure if he's got a little bit more than 9,000 MT, but in this picture, he does not have much MT. With that being said, he's got a pretty good squad, and he said he's looking for a backup big, and Ralph Sampson's probably the guy he's looking for, and I totally agree with that. I love Ralph Sampson or Mark Eaton. I would get Ralph. I think Ralph is... No, I'm sorry. I would get Mark. I'm saying the wrong thing. I think Mark is absolutely incredible card, but I don't think Ralph Sampson is bad at all either. So I think really up to you who you'd rather prefer. I think they're both better than Yao. I will say that. That's just my opinion. I think they're both... I think Yao is good. I think I mean, Yao is still great, actually. I still run him as my backup center, but I do think that you're going to get more success in all likelihood out of a guy like Mark Eaton, and then you can have Yao off the bench. I would also probably consider selling Amin Thompson and just running Doug Christie, or selling Ben Simmons, one of the two, and just running Doug Christie as your backup point guard, simply because that's going to save you some MT, and I think the MT savings there are going to be worth picking up. And I mean, outside of that, backup, like maybe sell Taco. You could sell Taco and buy an Evan Mobley or somebody like that at the power forward position. I think that might be worth considering as well. A DeMarcus Cousins and Evan Mobley, somebody like that, who's a little bit more fun. Because I do think while Taco is still a very good card, I don't think you have to run a guy like Taco Fall in this game. I think you can get away with using smaller, in my opinion, more fun options at the position and still have a lot of success. Just my opinion. And that is the last team for today's video. So that's going to do it for this one. If you did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon. And I appreciate y'all. Peace.